It is the Fix California Hour on the John Phillips Show. Johnny's back next Monday. It's Randy Wang here, and the phone number is 800-222-5222. The email address is johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And you can search for the John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts. I just posted the 12 o'clock hour. Daniel Lurie wants to crack down on street takeovers. We had an hour of great and hilarious calls. So download that wherever you get your podcasts. Our next guest is one of my favorites. He's a recovery advocate. He was formerly homeless in the city of San Francisco. Now he's the director of city partnerships at Sunflower Sober. Tom Wolf, welcome back to the John Phillips Show.
Hey, Randy, it's great to be back.
You know, Tom, you're one of my favorite people to follow on social media because every single day something comes up on your feed where I'm like, San Francisco was doing what? And today that was San Francisco was spending $5 million a year to give homeless people alcohol?
That's right. They've had a program in place since 2020 to serve a grand total over 5 years of 55 people that are chronically homeless and chronically addicted to alcohol, giving them free booze and housing at the same time at a cost of $5 million a year. And the mayor just announced that he's ending that program, which is wonderful. And that's a tribute to our advocacy work here to get them to stop funding that.
$5 million for 55 people? Those numbers do not add up unless they're drinking the really expensive tequila.
Right. Expensive tequila. I mean, who knows? I think most of that actually goes to salaries of the people that they're employing to actually monitor and administer alcohol, like shots of bourbon, to these individuals that are chronically addicted to alcohol. And the funny thing about that is that, I'm in recovery from heroin and fentanyl addiction, which are far, more dangerous in many ways than alcohol addiction can be. And, the idea that these people are hopelessly addicted and they can't recover, I just don't buy it, because I was hopelessly addicted and here I am now nearly 8 years clean and sober.
Yeah, this seems to be a step in the right direction with, something that Daniel Lurie has said he wants to take a strong stance against, and that is the city spending money on harm reduction programs. And this is one related to alcohol. But how are we doing in San Francisco on getting rid of all the city-funded harm reduction programs?
To be really honest with you, Randy, we're doing fair. I'll say it's an improvement from not at all to fair. So basically what Mayor Lurie has done is he's restricted the public distribution of oil pipes, crack pipes, meth pipes, and straws where people smoke their fentanyl. He's stopped the public distribution of that on the street. So you won't see people pulling a wagon down the street, handing out free crack pipes to homeless drug addicts on the street anymore. That's a step in the right direction. He cut this alcohol program, which is another step in the right direction, and he's added about 500 beds total in detox treatment beds and what they call a step-down housing or transitional housing. So that's drug-free, where people can go and live after drug treatment, where they're not surrounded by a bunch of drug users like had been the case previously.
Yeah, because as you have reported for years, part of the major problem that we see in a lot of our Housing First policies is because there are no rules when it comes to drugs. You essentially are sending somebody that might want to be in recovery into an environment where they're surrounded by drugs. And, a lot of people who leave those housing establishments don't leave the way you think they should.
That's right. And not only that, we found as data has emerged last year, we found out that about 30% of all the drug overdose deaths in San Francisco happened in that housing for the homeless. So they took the drug problem and then just moved it inside, except that it's also still on the street. So now you've expanded the drug crisis to both inside and outside at a cost of literally billions of dollars that the city is spending to house everybody. San Francisco spends $400 million a year just on rent subsidies alone for these individuals to live in this supportive housing where drug use is allowed. And I don't know any case where supportive housing is actually supportive if they're allowing fentanyl use to happen inside those apartments.
And to his credit, like you have said, Daniel Lurie has talked about having the city and the county of San Francisco fund more recovery housing where sobriety is the focus. But because of state law, we still can't get the state to pay for anything like that, right?
That's right. I worked really hard the last 2 years to get an assembly bill passed that made it all the way to the governor's desk last October to allow up to 10% of funding dollars that are used for housing to be used for drug-free recovery housing. And Governor Newsom, unfortunately, vetoed that bill at the 11th hour. He vetoed it, saying we already have that in place, and we actually don't. There's no funding mechanism anywhere in the state of California to fund any kind of drug-free recovery housing in the state. And because he vetoed that, it just continues on today. So cities like San Francisco are having to take matters into their own hands. Something that San Francisco did last year that's really good is they opened the first city-funded clean and sober homeless shelter. And so it has 60 beds for people that are ready to just put the drugs down and come inside off the street. And you would, everyone, all the critics said, nobody's going to go there. It's going to stay empty. It's not only full, but there's a waiting list to get in. So it just goes to show you that recovery does work.
We're speaking with Tom Wolf. He is a recovery advocate. And if you're not already, you've got to follow him on social media at T Wolf Recovery. He has got the inside info on a whole bunch of things that are going on in the Bay Area. Now, there are a lot of different views as to how these problems are being handled in the different major cities of the Bay Area. What's going on in San Francisco is different than what's going on in Oakland. And, of course, what's going on in both are different than what's going on in San Jose. What do you make of how Matt Mahan has been dealing with the homeless crisis in San Jose?
So, it's funny. Matt Mahan is probably the only Democratic legislator outside of Mayor Lurie, who I like very much, who actually gets it. He actually understands. Mayor Mahan understands homelessness. He understands that there's a lot of different types of people that are homeless, that are struggling with different issues. And his solution is to build interim housing, right? Either shelters, tiny homes. The goal is to get these encampments cleared, get the RVs off of the street, and get people into a more stable situation where they can then be triaged and we can address their issues, whether it's addiction or mental illness. And he's done a really good job. He's reduced unsheltered street homeless by about 22-25% in San Jose in the last year, which is far better than anything LA has done. And I know the governor was sitting up there talking about how we reduced homelessness 9% in the state of California. That's just factually untrue because he's only taking very small pieces of data from one specific study and then saying we reduced homelessness, and all you have to do is go to Skid Row in LA and you just know that that's not true.
Well, and you recently went to Skid Row, and we had one of our reporters on Fox 11 when they were doing the homeless count, and Karen Bass is talking about how great we're doing on homelessness, how great Project Inside Safe is, and all this other stuff. Yeah. But you ask the people that live on Skid Row, they're not seeing any of this money, and they're not getting any help, and that neighborhood is as bad as it's ever been.
Yeah, and I don't mean to laugh, right? I mean, homelessness is a really serious issue, and I feel for everyone that's out there on the street. I used to be one of those people out there on the street. But for the Mayor Bass in L.A. to stand up and say, we're reducing homelessness in our city is just, and then you go to Skid Row and there's 10,000 homeless people in a 50-block radius, you just know that what she's saying to you is just not true because, she's telling us not to believe what we see with our eyes, what we smell, everything when you go down to Skid Row. It's worse than ever. There's more RVs. I was down there with members of HUD, the Department of Housing and Urban Development from Washington, D.C. They came with me and we walked Skid Row together and they were shocked. They'd never seen anything quite like that, what they saw in Skid Row in L.A. It's its own special brand of homelessness down there. And so for the mayor to tout that homelessness is down it's a misnomer and frankly kind of does a disservice to the folks that are out there struggling every day with addiction and mental illness on the street. They really just need treatment and they need to be given a choice. You can't stay here on the street. You can either go to this shelter or you can go to this detox center right here. But those are your choices. You can no longer just stay out here on the street and use fentanyl every single day.
Well, and to his credit, like we've mentioned, the one mayor who is saying that and saying that you cannot be staying on the streets, if we have the shelter for you, you have to go there or we're going to have to intervene, that is San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan. That is not what is being done in Los Angeles City or Los Angeles County.
That's right. And, I know Mayor Mahan's flirting with the idea of running for governor, and quite honestly, I kind of hope he would. He would because he's pragmatic. He understands the problem. He and I have met many times. and have discussed the issue of homelessness many times. And he's really taken the time to listen to my perspective, which I find refreshing, as Mayor Lurie has in San Francisco as well. And you're starting to see some of those changes now play out in both San Francisco and LA. And San Francisco still has a long way to go. I mean, San Francisco, it took us a decade to get into the mess that we're in now. There's no way that you can get out of it in just a year. It's going to take time. But you're seeing some positive changes both in San Jose and San Francisco, and I just hope that trend continues. The real problem is that when they get to the point where they want to take some of this action, here come the activists, here comes the state legislature, which is actually blocking a lot of the things that Mayor Lurie and Mayor Mahan want to do, and that they're not allowing any state funding to go to these programs. And it just really leaves these cities on their own to address the problem themselves.
One of the things that happened early on in Daniel Lurie's term was we saw these big raids of some of the open-air drug markets. We saw some mass arrests. We saw some cleaning of some big parks. But ultimately, whether you're talking about the Tenderloin or Soma or the Mission, a lot of these open-air drug markets still persist. What do you think is the biggest challenge there to clean the city out of the open-air drug dealing and using that it's happening on a daily basis?
Yeah, that's a great question. So honestly, that falls on our judges in San Francisco, and it also falls to state law. Like, we passed Proposition 47 in 2015, which reduced penalties and reduced quality of life crimes down to low-level misdemeanors. And while we passed Prop 36 in 2024, that's limited in the changes that it makes to actually bring some accountability back, because it focuses only on repeat offenders. But basically, now, if you get arrested for open drug use in San Francisco, you get a citation. If you go to jail, they let you out to diversion within 24 hours because we have all these progressive judges on the bench. So for us to make real changes, we need to see changes on our bench in our Superior Court in San Francisco, and we need to start really thinking about electing different leadership to go into the state legislature to make changes to state law around drug crimes specifically, so that we can actually create a mechanism to get people from the street into treatment, utilizing public safety and law enforcement as a partner with public health to actually reduce these open drug scenes.
You know, I love what you said there, especially about sending the right people to Sacramento, because you look at something like Proposition 36 that was almost universally opposed by the majorities in the legislature and very loudly opposed by Gavin Newsom, but it passed by 70% in every single county pretty much. If we put that kind of effort into putting people in the Assembly and the State Senate that had similar views, a lot of these laws would change in just a couple of years.
That's exactly right. But, if you've spent any time in Sacramento, and I've spent a lot of time in the last 2 years testifying in front of committees, et cetera, in Sacramento in the legislature, while the elected officials might be nice human beings, they're so ideological and really so far left-leaning that it's really, when the issue of public safety comes up, the issue of homelessness comes up, they're not willing to entertain anything that involves law enforcement or accountability as part of the overall plan to get people off the street. Everything is just a public health approach. And, you can't just keep offering carrots to people over and over and over. You're going to eventually have to start offering the stick, too, because of the behavior that people are exhibiting on the street. If you're shoplifting from Target or Walgreens every day to support your drug habit, sooner or later, we have to hold that person accountable just for the stealing portion, not even the drug part. And then the drug part can come later, and we're not even doing that.
No, and as we've seen, when we're not doing that, what happens? The Walgreens closes.
That's right. Not only does the Walgreens close, but word gets around, right? So when I was on the street, back in 2018, word was already getting around. Hey, you can go to Target and steal a bunch of stuff and nothing's going to happen to you. So we would all cut holes in our jacket pockets and walk into these stores, and we would just stuff them with like razor blades, anything I could sell on the street, shaving cream, toothpaste, and take it back out to the street and sell it to get money to buy our heroin and fentanyl and crack. That's the truth.
That is wild. We're speaking with Tom Wolf. You can, of course, get him on Twitter at @TWolfRecovery, and he is the Director of City Partnerships for Sunflower Sober. Before you go, I got to get your take on the big arrest that happened on Friday, where acting U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley announced that in a probe of where all the homeless money has been spent in Los Angeles County, we found the head of a nonprofit that was supposed to take care of and feed the homeless was giving them packaged ramen and pocketed millions and millions of dollars to buy a luxury home in Brentwood and to buy a vacation home in Greece and to send his kids to public schools. My question to you is, are you surprised at all?
No, I'm not surprised at all. Look, there are over 12 nonprofits in San Francisco that have been under investigation for misappropriation of funds since 2023 alone in San Francisco. We even had one nonprofit who were actually stealing employees' retirement contributions to pay their bills instead of actually using the $18 million contract that the city had given them. So then the question becomes, what happened to that $18 million? So not at all surprised. I am disgusted and upset that he did that, and I hope that he goes to prison for a really long time because he's taking money from the most vulnerable. And, it just goes to show you that the people that are in charge of doling out all this money really have no idea who it is they're dealing with. Where's the vetting process? How are they following up and checking for outcomes with individuals? You have to wait until somebody gets indicted because they bought a big fat house in Brentwood or driving a Range Rover before you figure out, maybe they actually stole the money. So we need to really change how that money is distributed, who's in charge of that money, and put a lot more guardrails, including independent third-party audits into place that happen annually for these nonprofits so that we can verify that the money is being spent correctly.
I would love to see that. Tom Wolf, before we go, tell us about Sunflower Sober.
Well, Sunflower Sober is this really awesome app that's available right now on Google Play or iTunes. It's an AI sponsor on your phone. So if you're struggling with addiction, if you're in early recovery, if maybe you're struggling with gambling addiction and you need someone to talk to, Sam, your AI sponsor, is right there for you on your phone 24/7. Just give you messages of positivity and encouragement to try to help you use less. And the data is proving it. We've shown through our app that 22% fewer people have relapsed or have binged into the drug or the thing that they're addicted to. And so we're really showing that just having that support online available to you 24/7, 2 o'clock in the morning, when you can't call your best friend or you can't call your sponsor, your AI sponsor is right there to help you. And we believe that this is the future.
I love it. AI really being used for good there. Tom Wolf, thank you so much, as always, for joining us, buddy.
Thank you, Randy. It's my pleasure.
And how exciting is this? Speaking of next week, next Friday, February 6th from noon to 3, we've got another live broadcast of the John Phillips Show for you. We're going to Gladstone's in Long Beach. We'll be heading to Gladstone's in Long Beach once again for our next live broadcast, and you are invited. Come enjoy the great food. Sangmeister knows his way around fish. Great vibes, good drinks, and a fun afternoon by the water. You can really enjoy your Jimmy Buffett Friday. We'll have special guests, including Susan Shelley from the Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association. She'll tell you more about your taxpayer rights and protecting Prop 13 because, as we've been telling you, the courts have made it easier to raise your taxes. So come by and sign the petition to save Prop 13. The deadline is coming fast. She needs all the signatures we can get by February 17th. So if you've already done it, great. Get your neighbors involved. Get your friends and family involved. Go to the website, saveprop13.com. That's saveprop13.com. Come hang out with us, grab a bite, and be part of the broadcast, The John Phillips Show, live at Gladstone's in Long Beach, Friday the 6th from noon to 3. So this story dropped on Friday, but let's revisit it because it really is damning, the more details that we have learned just in the last couple of days. As a major arrest was announced in Los Angeles relating to the fraud, waste, and abuse that we have seen on where money goes when it is spent on the homeless. And the third big arrest in Bill Asaley's probe of where all the homeless money went in Los Angeles led to quite an interesting arrest that involved luxury houses, luxury cars, and ramen noodles. For more, here's CBS in Los Angeles.
He ripped off the taxpayers of LA County, and sadly and tragically, he ripped off the homeless.
A man who ran a company.
I don't know if it's tragic that he did that, but I guess, yes, he ripped off who are supposed to be the most in need and proved to the residents of Los Angeles where all this money is going is into the pockets of the nonprofits.
A man who ran a company that was supposed to be a, quote, blessing to the homeless, accused of stealing millions of dollars meant to help.
Investigators say he spent it on a multi-million-dollar Westwood home and even his kids' private school tuition.
CBS LA.
Uh-oh. Those kids are going to have to go to LAUSD while daddy's in prison.
CBS LA's Joy Benedict with how he got caught and the time he's now facing behind bars.
We demand results, and we saw the homelessness problem continue to explode. And where's our money going?
Strong word.
That is true. Again, you can listen to Karen Bass and her statistics all you want, although the adjusted numbers, when you look at competing counts, show that the drop in homelessness was most likely due to overdoses.
It's not a namsy-pamsy thing.
But we have spent so much money. Specifically, if you just look at Karen Bass's Inside Safe program that has the budget of $800 million a year, which if you divide that among the people that we are actually serving with that, the ones that we keep in the motels indefinitely, which is about 4,000 people, we're spending, and Monica Rodriguez, the LA City Council, did the math on this, about $17,000 per person per month to stay in a motel. Yeah, there's a lot of grift going on. And I believe this nonprofit was directly tied to Karen Bass's Inside Safe. You know, the program that was administered by her friend and her personal appointee to the head of LAHSA at the time,
Doctor
Valicia Adams-Kellum,
We demand results.
to the salary of $430,000 a year.
We demand results, and we saw the homelessness problem continue to explode. And where's our money going?
Strong words from the Department of Justice at a joint news conference with the county district attorney, both announcing charges against a man accused of stealing money from the homeless.
He went ahead and ripped off the voters of LA County. He ripped off the taxpayers of LA County, and sadly and tragically, he ripped off the homeless.
Alexander Sufer was arrested this morning at his Westwood home for wire fraud and also charged in LA County with offering false evidence and forgery after both.
And I do not want simultaneous sentences. I think you spend all your time in federal prison, and hopefully we've changed the laws enough. By the time you serve your sentence in California State Prison, you'll stay there.
After both agencies say he took $23 million to help the homeless, but then didn't.
Now, of course, this guy is getting the book thrown at him now that he's been caught. By the way, we'll tell you the originations of this investigation in a moment, which is all great. But why is it not also criminal as to who gave him the $23 million? As to who misappropriated these funds?
Mr. Sufer called his company Abundant Blessings.
That should tell you something right there.
But the only abundant blessings he gave were to himself.
Look, you don't get into the district attorney line of work because you're necessarily a creative writer or a creative speaker. But Hochman's presser is there's just this extra level of he's trying a little too hard. That being said, love the results. The presentation, not an important part of the job, but could use some improvement.
But the only abundant blessings he gave were to himself.
In a very detailed complaint, the federal government claims Sufer received funding for his company Abundant Blessings to house at least 600 people at one point.
Wait a second. 600 people for $23 million? Do you ever do the math on how any of this works? Let's see. 23,000,000 divided by 600. That means we could have given each one of these homeless people 38 grand. For that, You can buy a double wide in Abilene. I bet you could.
To house at least 600 people at one point and feed the homeless 3 meals a day. But when they looked into his organization, they found only ramen noodles for those in need.
Okay, just because I don't want to, act like I'm exaggerating here. $38,000 cannot get you a double wide in Abilene. Those will cost you about $100,000. So maybe you put 3 homeless people in each double wide, because a double wide is like a 4-bedroom home. Okay, it'll work. Now, let's go back to the funniest detail about this, because it actually is more indicting of the city of LA than you might know.
And feed the homeless 3 meals a day. But when they looked into his organization, they found only ramen noodles for those in need and hotels that hadn't been paid for.
So he didn't pay for the hotels, so he wasn't housing them. He pocketed that money. He was supposed to feed them 3 hots and the cot, didn't give them the cot, and the 3 hots were cup noodles. And apparently a microwave. Couldn't even spring for the hot water. Now, here's the thing that you might not know about this. Because when I first saw this story break on Friday, I, like probably most of you, thought, okay, this is the investigation from the federal government that started this. It's actually not. This got kicked up to the federal government, and they looked into it because of a report from LA City Controller Kenneth Mejia, because somebody tipped to his office that one of Karen Bass's inside safe nonprofits was feeding the homeless nothing but ramen noodles. So if you think about that, you got to imagine that not only is Kenneth Mejia, even though he is aligned with the DSA, he's more common sense than most of them based on the job that he's in. But not only does he kick that up to the DA's office and the federal government to investigate this guy, but didn't Karen Bass obviously know then what was going on with the money she was spending? Didn't the city council know? If the controller knew about this, it would be criminally negligent if the city did not know.
And hotels that hadn't been paid for.
And where's the oversight where all this money is going? There's nobody checking for the last 7 years what this guy is doing with the millions and millions of dollars that we're giving him? Of course not, because it's not about solving the problem. It's about having a problem that you can spend endless amounts of money on to make your friends rich. And that is a very cynical view to look at Los Angeles, but that's what I see every single day. I truly believe there are some great organizations out there, particularly the faith-based ones. We have done a lot of work with the Union Rescue Mission. They have turned lives around. We just had Tom Wolf on, who is in recovery and was a homeless drug addict. Salvation Army turned his life around. All of these Abundant Life, what is it? By the way, it sounds like the weight loss program I was on. No affiliation. All of these nonprofits that have these great sounding names have no track record of success, and they're getting millions of dollars with no accountability. And where is that money really going? For lavish lifestyles. Again, I'm glad this guy got arrested. Hopefully he gets convicted both federally and statewide. But where's the other shoe of that? Who authorized this check? Who authorized the years of checks? And why wasn't anybody paying attention? And if that's not a crime, what do we need to do to make sure it is?
He used the money, taxpayer dollars. He siphoned it into his personal accounts, and he used it to put down a down payment on his $7 million house in Westwood.
The 42-year-old was arrested at the home this morning where neighbors say he lived with his wife and children. Investigators say he also purchased a vacation home in Greece.
Oh, boy. Should have fled there.
Bought luxury goods and a Range Rover, which the federal government seized this morning.
They're living out in the streets. People are literally dying. And this guy is out vacationing, buying homes, buying Range Rovers, and going shopping. That's where the tax dollars went.
When the judge who is overseeing all of the lawsuits that Los Angeles City and County are facing when it comes to how they spent all the homeless money asked for an audit from LAHSA of where the homeless money went. And they said, we have no idea where the money went. This is why. Because the grift comes straight from the top. Let's not forget that Karen Bass's appointed head of LAHSA at the time before she resigned in shame,
Doctor
Valicia Adams Kellum from crooked nonprofit the St. Joseph Center, she was caught writing checks from LAHSA to her husband's nonprofit. The grift is everywhere. And if we give Karen Bass 4 more years, that's going to be 4 more years of no real results with money going to special interests.
If you're feeling down, if you're feeling blue, let's get help for you.
Let's go to Cardi in Lancaster. Cardi, hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great.
Okay, a couple of points. Bear with me, please. It wasn't, you know what that should have been called? Abundant ripoff.
There you
Number
go.
1. Number 2, we know corruption is going to be 10 times worse in Minnesota because in all these places, you're correct, there's no oversight, none whatsoever. And all these people are just, these nonprofits are fakes and jokes. And you're absolutely right. I only give to the Mission and the Salvation Army. That's where the money should be going, with people with a track record for over 100 years. Right or wrong?
Oh, I think you're totally right. And we have seen the evidence where those organizations, the true non-for-profit, some of these religious organizations, they have success stories. They have people that have graduated these programs and changed their lives. And what do we see from these other nonprofits? We don't ever see any results. None whatsoever. Thanks so much for the call, Cardi. Appreciate it. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. I guess election season has started. The June primary is just a little more than 4 months away. And I know that because all of a sudden, Karen Bass is in full-on re-election mode. I just found this on social media because Spencer Pratt posted about it, making fun of her. But let's hear Karen Bass's pitch as to why she should get 4 more years to destroy Los Angeles.
Oh, you're so optimistic. Los Angeles is the greatest city in the world.
Okay, right off the bat. Not the strongest criticism of her, but seriously, has nobody in her office ever told her that she is a D-dropper? Los Angeles is the greatest city in the world. Where's the D?
Los Angeles is the greatest city in the world, and we're at an inflection point. I'm Mayor
Okay, what's with the music in the background?
Karen Bass, and I'm running for re-election because I believe in Los Angeles.
Wouldn't you start with, I'm running for re-election because things are great right now and they'll be even better? Look, I really thought there was nowhere we could go but up no matter who won in 2022 because we just had 10 years of Eric Garcetti.
I received things on both ends.
No, things got a lot worse.
And I'll keep fighting for the city.
That means nothing.
We've had our challenges, but we're...
Those challenges being a ever-worsening homelessness crisis, burning down the Palisades while she was in Ghana, and let's not forget the 10 freeway melted under her watch, and we still never caught the arsonist.
We're making real progress.
Fact check.
City. We've had our challenges, but we're making real progress. Street homelessness has decreased for 2 consecutive years.
Nobody's buying that. Is it decreasing in Skid Row? And once again, I will point out, I have a specific barometer for how well we're doing on homelessness, and it's very simple. Are there more fires or less fires in the Sepulveda Basin? Right now, there's more, including a fire that was so bad that it had closed a bunch of baseball fields.
We're making moves on affordability.
How? I am born and raised in the city and county of Los Angeles. What moves has Karen Bass made on affordability? Except, advocating for even higher taxes with Measure A, when the city was in a budget deficit, saying we need to jack up the trash fees. I don't think so.
Fast-tracking city approval to build more housing.
There's like 12 homes that have been approved and that are being built in the Palisades. Maybe a few more than that, but it's still a drop in the bucket of the 6,000.
And we're helping small businesses in all of our neighborhoods.
Sure. Should we list off how many restaurants have closed under Karen Bass's watch while we are not in a pandemic?
Violent crime is down.
Fact check.
Public safety is up.
Fact check.
The homicide rate is the lowest it's been since the 1960s.
Doctors have gotten really good at treating bullet wounds.
And we've created the Office of Community Safety.
That doesn't mean anything.
To prevent crime from happening in the first place.
That's a bunch of nonsense. Let's go to Allison in Studio City. Allison, hello.
Hi, she's got to be out of her mind. I just saw that she's opening up a soundstage in downtown LA in the, quote, arts district. And I just read that Radford Studios, which is in Studio City, is now on the bankruptcy block. So somebody's got to be making a lot of money selling her some property with some kickbacks to open up another soundstage when we can't even keep the industry in Los Angeles.
That is a really good point. Let's fill up the sound stages that we already have before we need to build new ones. And currently, with the policies of the city of Los Angeles, and look, she's not responsible for the tax incentives, but she is totally responsible for the hellish permitting process of how difficult it is to film in the city of Los Angeles. That is on her.
Absolutely. I read that one of the producers took his entire crew to Bulgaria. It was cheaper to shoot there, including transportation, for 2 days than it was to shoot for a day in Los Angeles.
Makes total sense. Thanks so much for the call, Allison. Appreciate it.
And to provide second chances for people who want to turn their lives around.
How about third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth chances?
Focused on bringing the entertainment industry, Hollywood jobs back.
Production was lower last year than it has been ever.
To stay in LA. And we are standing up to Trump's inhumane.
Well, at least she went 58 seconds without talking about Trump.
ICE raids that terrorize our community by racial profiling people that harms our families and absolutely hurts our economy.
Why is the music getting louder? Who produces this? And by the way, this was shot on an iPhone. So I don't know how much money she's raising, but might not be too much. Let's go to Dave in Calabasas. Dave, hello.
Oh, my gosh, I'm begging you, please stop playing Karen Bass. It's beyond cringe that I could tolerate. Everything good is up. Everything bad is down. Meanwhile, what does she actually do besides take pictures of photo ops? And, Randy, I just wanted to ask you this. Do you agree that the number one thing that needs to be dealt with is the fact that the film and TV industry needs to come back to Los Angeles, whatever it takes? That's the problem with the economy. That's why stores are closing. We need the bodies here in Los Angeles to go to restaurants, to go to retail, to go to the coffee shops and put the money back into the city. I think that's number one.
It is number one. And we have to make ourselves more competitive, not just with places like Atlanta, but the entire world. And the current people that we have in charge do not have the will to do that. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. We got one more hour to go here. It's Randy Wang on The John Phillips Show.